You're listening to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. I'm Allison Boyle, aka She Dreams of Alpine, and this is the show that's dedicated to all the adventurous spirits out there who have either been transformed by the outdoors or are interested in what it looks like to step into a new, adventurous, and courageous kind of identity in their life. It doesn't matter what your background is in the outdoors, what age you're starting at, or where you grew up. If you're curious about the outdoors and using adventure as a way to reinvent yourself, you're in the right place. I'll be sharing all kinds of personal adventure stories, lessons I've learned from the mountains, teaching what I know about the outdoors and leadership, and interviewing some amazing adventurous women all along the way. I've been coaching women on becoming safe, confident, and self-sufficient backpackers and leaders of their own adventurous lives since 2018, and I know exactly what big fears and self-doubts can pop up along the way. I have so much to share with you, so let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to episode 62 of the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. So I wanted to do an episode all about what I'm nervous about with my upcoming thru hike of the West Highland Way, which is a thru hike in Scotland. I'm literally getting ready soon in a week or so to head out, go hike the West Highland Way. And so if you have never heard of the West Highland Way, I just wanted to give you some details to start. So the West Highland Way thru hike is 100 miles. It starts just outside of Glasgow. So I think it's called Milngavie is kind of like the official town start. And it ends typically in Fort William at the foot of Ben Nevis, which is a mountain out there. So typically, people do this walk in 6 days to 11 days. I'm doing it in 8. It has I think it has over 12,000 feet of gain, something like that. And it was Scotland's first official long distance trail. It was open in 1980. And these days, it gets over 50,000 people that go and hike it and complete it each year. I know that we have had clients go out and do it. I know that I've had friends that have gone out and done it. It's supposed to be really epic. So I'm getting ready to go hike it. And just also for some background information, you can wild camp, kind of traditional backpack this trail. There are options to do that, but because it's international and honestly, I just wanted to have a different type of experience because I go backpacking all the time. I wanted a little bit more of a locals sort of experience. So I'm doing it as a day hike and I'm hiking town to town and staying in little not Airbnbs. Well, I think one day I have an Airbnb, but mostly staying in little bed and breakfasts and local hiker spots that have accommodations with bedding. So that way I don't have to pack as much. That's what I'm most looking forward to is not having to deal with the backpacking gear with my international travel. But also I just feel like it's part of the experience and the way that I want to experience the West Highland Way. So I do want to say though, you can backpack it. I have had a student in our Backpacking Badass program who did that as her first backpacking trip. She went all out. She went to Scotland. So you can backpack it. It's great too, I'm sure. I'm just day hiking it. So when I actually first discovered the West Highland Way, it first came into my consciousness as a thru hike that I wanted to go do. It was actually back in 2023. So my husband and I, Michael, we had a very belated honeymoon. So we got married in 2021 and then we had to pay for our own wedding. So we were recovering from that and we're saving up for a honeymoon. And then finally we saved up enough and we were I don't know why we chose Scotland. We have so many places we want to go. And it was just kind of on the list. And we decided to actually do a road trip. We did a 3-week road trip from Ireland, and then we took we went all over Ireland, and then we crossed a ferry into Scotland, and then we were in Scotland, and then we went down to the UK and then back to Ireland. So we did this big circle, and it was amazing. But I remember Scotland kind of took a hold on me even more specifically. when we rolled into Scotland, we were actually listening to Sam Hugin's book called Waypoints. If you don't know Sam Huggins, he's the main actor in Outlander. He wrote a book called Waypoints, which is basically was about his life, his career, and also it was about him hiking the West Highland Way. And it was so great that we were listening to that at the same time as entering into Scotland, and the place that we had entered was basically right near Glasgow, and we were headed up. So we actually ended up driving a lot of parallel with the West Highland Way. As we were making our way up, we went into Fort Williams, and then we went up and beyond. Like we went up into some other areas up north, like Isle of Skye afterwards. But it was really neat, and I just remember like driving by that trail and all the different locks, and I was just like, I need to come back here. This is amazing. Like it would be just so, we were in around the same time of season that I'll be there again, and it was just such a lovely like time of the year to be there. The fall colors were like awesome. It was just like moody in the best kind of way, and I really wished I had been hiking, but that wasn't like our trip. Our trip was more, let's see as much as possible. We did do some hiking, but we didn't have time to do like the West Highland Way because it's 100 miles. And that's not what we were going there for. But I knew instantly that I wanted to come back. And so last fall, so fall of 2024, if you went to the group chat, my best friend group chat, we started scheming about going on a trip together. And it's been a while. Like all of us live in different places. One of my best friends lives up in Boulder, so I do get to see her a little bit more, but she's got kids, she's busy, she's an aerospace engineer, she's like very busy. And then my other best friend lives still in California. And so we have a group chat together, and we try to like see each other once a year, and it feels like lately it's been hard. So we were like, let's do a group trip. And we were brainstorming places, and I was like, y'all, let's do the West Highland Way. Because I love vacations that like center around an adventure. That's like my favorite thing. That's how Michael and I usually travel. It's actually more rare for us to just do kind of like a more historical road trippy thing. Usually we're going someplace to climb, or we're going to hike something. You know, we did New Zealand once as a kind of camper van trip, but that we had like adventures planned the whole time. So that's usually how I like to travel. I just love that kind of international travel experience. And I convinced them that it would be epic. We picked dates that all worked for us, and we started making plans for it. And I think back in February of this year, we booked flights, and then enters the drama. Not really like big drama because it's just my best friends, but drama for this story. So fast forward to the summer of this year, and one of my friends, the one who lives in Boulder, she's just was feeling stressed. Like her kids are young. One of them got really sick. She had to take like a whole week extra off that she wasn't planning to take off to take care of him. And also her work has been super stressful lately. And she was like, guys, I have to back out. And it was such a bummer. And I was like, no, the group trip, it's getting totally changed. So of course, selfishly, I was like a little disappointed, but like I also understood. And then my other friend was like, okay, well, let me know if you still want to do it. Like I'd still be down to go. And I think when my friend Kara originally announced that she wasn't going, I like felt that I had to like sit with the disappointment for like a week and like regroup myself, because I knew it was kind of like selfish, my disappointment. And so I sat with it for a week, and I happened to actually be out in California on our Adventurous Reinvention Experience group programs that we host out there every year. And so I think I was right before my first group trip that we were guiding out backpacking in the Sierras. And the day before we went out on that first trip, I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, I still want to go. Let's go. Like, it'll be a bummer that Kara can't be there anymore, but it's going to be so fun. And like, we have this one life, and I'm not promised, like, none of us are promised anything. This is like how I was literally thinking, because I'm just like, I don't want to put things off because something isn't ideal necessarily. Like, I still want to go if I have the opportunity to go. because I just am so grateful that I have the ability and the time and, the friends to go with. And, anyways, I was all in my feels. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I texted my friend, Ashima, and I said, let's go. I'm still in. And she goes, oh, I actually thought you were going to be out because I hadn't heard from you. And I told my work that I was no longer going to be gone. And she works in tech, so she's also very busy. And so then I was literally about to go out and be in the backcountry. And so I couldn't really have a conversation with her about it. I was going to be like out of service soon. I messaged her last minute. And so then I went on to that trip and I was like, well, shoot, like this was supposed to be a friend's trip. And now it's like not. And I started grappling with, okay, like, do I want to do this solo? And I have no problem with doing things solo, but I just think it was having this whole, like, the intention of the trip was meant to be this friend experience, and a solo international through hike trip was just different than what I was originally like had framed up in my head. But after a couple days, like a night in the backcountry, I was like, hell yes, I'm going to go. I'm going to go solo. Like, it's going to be a great experience. It's going to be very different. Like the energy when you go with your best friends somewhere is giggly and you guys are goofing around and you're just like really connecting, and it's just like different. And if I went solo, like that was going to be its own experience. And I had to drop what I originally had it in my mind that it was going to be and start like really tapping into the desire of going solo. And I was like, it's been a while since I've done an international solo trip. Like maybe I'll make some really great connections. Maybe I'll have some good solo time. Like at the very least, I'm going to be in a beautiful place. I'm going to be hiking. Like I just really started building up the desire to like do it solo. And I was fully on board. I'm like, okay, I'm going solo. But then, so I messaged my friend back. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to go anyways, I think. And it'll be a bummer for you guys not to be there. And then she came back and told me that she's going to come to part of it. So now the whole plot twist of the story is it's a bit of a hybrid trip. So she's coming to like the first half, and then the second half, I'm going to be alone. So it's a mix. Well, it's like a great little mix of both worlds. One of our friends still can't go, but it's half solo, half friend trip. But as a side note, I just wanted to say, like, this is something that I talk to my clients all the time about. Being solo confident means that you have options. So if you feel confident, like in this context, I'm going to talk about backpacking, but like if you feel confident and self-sufficient in your own skills, like you have your own back anytime you go out, you're not relying on other people, like you can take care of yourself no matter what. It gives you so many options, like it did for me. Like not once was I worried, well, who am I going to hike with and feel safe hiking with? Like I'm very confident in myself out on the trail. Like I was not at once worried about that. It was more just like the internal drama I had about like, oh, well, now I'm not going to do it with my friends. And it gave me options. So I was like, I could do this with friends. I could do this alone. Like I just had to get myself on board with either one. So it's really great when you have that and you have those options, because this is the reality, especially as adults, is like we do have people back out last minute. And especially in backpacking, like backpacking adventures, you might have people at the beginning like of the summer who are like, yeah, I would love to go backpacking with you. But then last minute, their mind drama is going to come up and maybe they don't have the tools through working through it and they're going to back out. And I'm not saying that's what, or sometimes real life shit is happening. Like my friend Kara, like she just really had to make a choice and, had to put her family first and what she was going through first. And I totally respect that. So you're going to encounter that. So knowing you feel confident going solo gives you just so many options that you don't have to back out of your trip. So I am planning to head out on that venture again pretty soon, when this podcast episode drops. And I'm going to do like a trail series on it. So kind of like I've done in the past with, if you've listened to any of the prior episodes on the like John Muir Trail or the Royal Arch Loop. So you'll get behind the scenes of each day. So I'm going to record that for you guys when I'm out there at the end of each day. So you can get a little behind the scenes of the West Highland Way, see if that's something that you might like to go do in the future. You can get to experience all of my mind chatter in the moment stuff going on when I'm with my friend or when I'm solo, and the nuances between the two. So it'll be great. I'm really looking forward to it. But today, in today's episode, I thought it would be kind of fun to tell you about my pre-trip resistance and anxiety. Now, this is something that I've talked about before. If you're not familiar with the term, I always call that nervousness and that anxiety and kind of like the oh shit feeling that you get before a trip. I call it pre-trip resistance. And I talked all about it on episode 10 of the podcast. And I talked more specifically around backpacking because it's such a common thing for my clients to experience and me to experience that I wanted there to be a place where you could go and have like a pep talk from me, from your coach, to work through your pre-trip drama, resistance, mind chatter. So I always tell all my clients who are like having that pre-trip resistance and feeling nervous and feeling anxious to go give it a listen. So definitely like put it on your list to go back to whenever you need it. It's episode 10. I'll try to link it in the show notes as well. But I wanted to do this episode before I even head out to tell you about my own personal pre-trip resistance and anxiety around hiking the West Highland Way, so that you know that I'm not like this unicorn person that isn't relatable, and I get nervous about trips too, and some of the things on my list are kind of silly. You're going to get to hear them. And I wanted this to be a space for me to be like very real and normalize the mind chatter and the drama, and maybe give you some tools, little tools to keep moving forward if you are experiencing that. So in a nutshell, I think I've kind of already explained this, but I want to recap it again. In a nutshell, pre-trip resistance is basically all of that. I call it mind drama, but basically it's the mind chatter, all the thoughts running through your brain like at 1,000 miles per hour that you have right before a trip. And usually it's like a week or 2 or maybe 3 like before your trip. I guess it depends on like the extensiveness of your trip. But usually for my clients, it's about a week or 2 weeks before their trip that they start just feeling the heaviness of it. They're like, oh my gosh, this trip is actually happening and I'm freaking out, right? So at first, like when you set the plan of the trip, in my case, the West Highland Way, it was like a year ago when I made the plan for this. You're really excited. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be amazing. And, maybe through the planning process, there are some ups and downs. Like I always get a little bit stressed, like booking flights, but that's just me, like my type A nervousness around having like a plan until I have it solidified. I'm always a little bit nervous, but in general, like I'm making my way forward, feeling really positive. And then the trip gets closer and closer, and that's when shit starts to feel real. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing this. And sometimes I feel like no matter how smooth you try to plan your time leading up into a trip, it always feels like life is lifing and there's 1,000 things to do and your brain is all over the place. And your brain is like, it's so busy right now. I'm so stressed. I don't know if I can do this. I'm really nervous. And there's also like 1,000 what if scenarios that are going to be popping up in your head. So the most important thing, I'm sure most of you have experienced this. The most important thing I want you to know is how freaking normal that is. And the reason that I'm recording today's episode is because I want to normalize it even more for you. Like I am an outdoor educator, a backpacking guide, a traveler. I have been doing this for over a decade. All of these things, mountaineering, climbing, been on some of the tallest peaks in the US, hiked hundreds and hundreds of miles, traveled all over the world. I've been all over the world for different types of adventures. And still, I always get my own version of pre-trip resistance, and it's probably going to sound very similar to yours. So I am as human as they come. I have the silliest things that pop up in my head, and I worry about some of the same things as everyone, even though I do this stuff more often. And I like have a lot of, positive experiences in my kind of adventure resume. Like I still get pre-trip resistance. So here we go. I am going to walk you through like the top 6-ish things that my brain has been obsessing about and being anxious about, and what my current mind drama has sounded like. Okay, so number one, my first thing that I have been thinking about a lot is I am nervous about derailing my progress with my climbing gains and food planning. I'm going to give you some background for that. So if you've listened to, I think it was a couple episodes ago, I talked about how back in August I started really training for a very hard climbing goal that I've set for myself. And 3 times a week, I go to the gym for multiple hours on those sessions. And I'm usually climbing outside every weekend as well. So I've been climbing a lot for the last 8-ish weeks. And I'm very committed. I've also nailed down my meal plans in these last 8 weeks to really be intentional to fuel myself. I'm eating 130 grams of protein a day to make sure I'm recovering well. I have been locked in on this goal. I'm very, very focused, and my desire is high. And I also know it's going to be a long journey because it's not just going to happen overnight. So I've just been locked in, very focused on the goal. And this trip, I planned this way before I had set that goal for myself. And this trip feels a little bit like my brain wants to convince me that I'm derailing the progress a little bit. And it's trying to make that a problem and make me nervous about it. I won't have access to a climbing gym. I probably won't even really have access to gyms. If I remember correctly from when I was there in 2023, a lot of the bed and breakfasts, they don't have gyms. And I'm going to be mostly hiking. That's fine. That's great. But essentially, I'll be taking a 12-day rest period, which is longer than I would normally take from my climbing training. And my food choices, I'll be mostly eating out. I don't think I'll be able, I won't have a place to cook and make my own food. And I'm just going to have to be really more mindful and not just opt for all the delicious fish and chips every single day that I'm out there. But on the flip side, this is life, and I'm not going to not go on this adventure because of some minor loss in climbing gains. And I do know, I have reminded my brain many times, this is actually this rest period is probably really good for me. And I'll be able to quickly come back. It's only 12 days. It's not the end of the world. Plus, I'm going to be hiking 10 to 15 miles a day. So I'm still staying very active. And I plan to have 3 core training sessions the day before I get on the plane, or the few days leading up to me getting on the plane. So then I'll get right back on the horse as soon as I get back in town and head off into another training block with my climbing partner. So I have a plan before and after. I am just going to have to, I think the only other element is I might just do some strength things in the hotel if I have time for it. And I just have to practice being mindful with my food choices and getting in more greens versus fried foods, and prioritizing my protein when I'm ordering out. So those are the things, this worry that my brain is offering me, I'm really just trying to approach it from okay, how can I support myself in not losing so much of my gains and still having a really great time and enjoying my vacation. And enjoying the West Highland Way. And I think I feel pretty good about this at this point, and I'm just going to do my best, to be honest. And I'm going to have fun, and I'm not going to over obsess about it. So that was my first one that has kept coming up over the last couple weeks. The other one, I'm a little embarrassed to tell you this one. So my second one is a little embarrassing to say out loud, but I want to be real. So I feel super comfortable hiking alone, backpacking alone, hiking alone, road tripping alone. I feel really comfortable with that, even in a foreign country. It's not something I've been worried about really at all. I've got Gaia set up. I know how to navigate. I'm very confident in that. But the thing I'm most nervous about on this trip is eating meals alone. So I told y'all I'm going to be half with a friend and then half solo. So when I'm with a friend, this is like a non-issue. But there's going to be like a solid 4 or 5 days after my friend leaves that I'm literally going to be eating by myself in town, in restaurants. Like I'm not like eating alone on the trail. That is normal. Breakfast feels fine, but it's like the idea of like going to a pub by myself and like sitting at my own table. I don't know what it is, but like my brain has a lot of mind drama about it. Like it's so, I don't do it very often. I'm definitely worried about feeling like standing out and being othered and like feeling like I look alone. It's such a silly narrative. And it's rooted in the patriarchy, y'all. Like, it's rooted in it. But, and I know this, my brain definitely keeps offering it to me. So I just wanted to be real about it because I'm sure some of y'all have felt the same way. And I think also, it also is in part with my introvertedness. You may not think that I'm an introvert. I'm definitely a practice extrovert. I think my job demands that a little bit out of me, like to have the ability to like hold conversations really well and to be a little bit more outgoing than normal. But I am an introvert at her core. And so like if random people come and talk to me, my introvertedness is like, no, please leave me alone. So like part of it is that. But I will tell you guys, do not worry about me. I'm not worried about me. I know I will figure this out. Also, there's this Rumi quote that I think about often that says, go where you fear to go. And I like pull that one up in a lot of different scenarios. And so when I think about this, I'm also a little bit excited, like to eat alone as well, because this is something I need to work on. And I just don't really, in day-to-day life, like I eat at home or like I order out, like it's not something I just work on very often, or I go with my husband or my friends. So I'm going to have to eat like on the trail, and I don't want to eat every single meal in a hotel room. And I'm a grown-ass adult who can eat by herself. And I know at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is a feeling. And that feeling is probably awkward. Like I will feel awkward, but I know that I can handle the feeling of awkwardness. Like I'll just be able to tap into it to my body and I'll be like, you are feeling awkward, Allison. This is what awkward feels like in your body. And I'll know that I can just let that emotion pass through, and then I can just enjoy being there. But also on the flip side, I know that me being willing to feel awkward and sitting alone at a pub or wherever I'm going to be eating by myself, I also know that there could be some really cool things that come out of it. Like I mentioned not wanting to talk to other people, but there's a part of me that really loves connecting with random people as well. So what if I meet other hikers? What if I make new friends? What if I get invited to join somebody's table and like we have a connection all night long and laugh, and there's this friendship born, international friendship that's born, who knows? And it becomes this really amazing experience that I look back fondly on. Or worst case scenario, I just learn how to be alone with my awkward feelings, eating by myself at a pub better. And that is not a bad thing for me to practice. So regardless, this pre-trip resistance fear that keeps coming up for me is a good one. And I'm excited to embrace it. So that's my second one. The third one on my list is a little bit more of a practical one that you guys can maybe relate to, especially if you're thinking about pre-trip resistance in regards to like backpacking or something. But my third thing that has come up a lot is like, what if I regret my shoe choice? So I'm going on this international trip and I'm going to kind of have to be committed to whatever shoe that I bring. And I have decided that I'm bringing trail runners, and it is notably more wet and muddy in Scotland than where I typically hike. So trail runners feel a little bit risky compared to like maybe bringing a more waterproof boot, but I just really love my trail runners. I love hiking in them. I'm way less prone to getting blisters in them. They dry really fast. They just overall, for me, more comfortable. That is my shoe preference if I can swing it. So I've decided to take a chance and bring those instead of bringing a boot, a more waterproof boot with a lot of sock rotations. Like I will have at least 4 pairs of socks just in case it ends up being wet. So that's my plan. and maybe some waterproof gaiters as well. I do have some. I'll probably throw in my backpack as well. And I did do some research. Like, I did validate my choice a little bit. I read online. Obviously, everyone has, when it comes to shoes, you're going to find this in backpacking too. And this is why I hate the question, what shoe do I recommend? Because it literally just depends on your foot, on your preference, on the support you want, on the trail you're going on the weather conditions. Like, it really, really does depend. But I did read online that folks who did go in trail runners really enjoyed that choice. So I felt a little validated, and that is how I made my decision. But I still feel a little bit nervous about it. But I do think, like, you know, we are staying in hotels at night. So worst case scenario, I have this little tiny blow dryer with me that I can literally blow dry my shoes dry every night if I need to, if it's that wet. And it might not even be like they're soaking wet. But that is where my brain's going. It's like, you will be soggy and you will hate this choice, but maybe I won't. Maybe I'll really love it, but it's the choice I've made. So I will report back if I regret it or not. So wish me luck. My fourth pre-trip anxiety is around not bringing poles. So this is another gear one. So I've opted not to bring my hiking poles to the West Highland Way because I'm traveling really lean. So I am only bringing a 35-liter day pack with me, and I'm not checking any bags. So I'm flying international, not checking any bags. I'm literally going to have just one day pack with me. I'll probably do like probably on Instagram or something, packing, like showing you guys what I'm packing for this trip. So stay tuned, or go to our Instagram at She Dreams of Alpine if you want to follow that. But I'm packing really lean, everything that fits in a 35-liter pack, and it's always a risk to pack hiking poles and fly with them if you're not checking a bag. Because the only reason it's a risk is because some airlines don't allow you to bring them on board. And the reason this is a risk is so this is something I tell my clients, like, if you invest in the right gear, good gear, you may have it for years. And I have literally had the same pair of trekking poles since 2014, and those poles have been with me through thick and thin, and they have been on some of the tallest peaks in the US. They have gone through some crazy shit with me, and I've had some really good memories with them. They're holding strong, but like, you can't even see the tick marks on them anymore. Some of the plastic on some of the pieces of the clip part has come off, but I am very attached to them, and they're very nostalgic to me at this point. And losing them to an airline would be a tragic ending for them. Like, it's not the way they're meant to go. I just know that they're meant to die in a more romantic way. And so they need a much more glorious exit, because they have been through the ringer with me, and who knows how many more years they have left in them. Honestly, I still love them. So I won't be bringing those hiking poles because I can't risk emotionally to lose them on an airplane to an airline. And so I'm not bringing them. And the only thing, so either I won't be hiking with poles at all when I get there, which I'm okay with. Like, the only reason I'm a little bit nervous about that is potentially because if it's really wet, it might be nice to have the extra stability. I'm not so nervous about my feeling bad, but I do like hiking with poles. They just give you some extra stability, and it's just nice. So I typically would, but I might poke around the little town in Milngavie when I arrive to see if I can find some cheap ones. So to be determined. I may end up with poles, but I'm not bringing any. So it's kind of like up in the air at this point. And it's another one of those things, like, will I regret that choice? And I will let you know how it goes. But I've heard tale that you can find them in Milngavie. So yeah, I might end up with a pair out there. My fifth thing that I have pre-trip resistance around and nervousness and anxiety around is fitting everything into my bag. And this is one of those classic pre-trip nerve examples. I feel like everyone gets nervous packing their bag. Like, how is everything going to fit in here? How is all my food going to fit in here? How heavy is my bag going to be? all of the things. That's very normal, especially with backpacking trips, especially if you don't have your gear quite dialed in yet. Even if you do, I always feel like packing for each trip is a bit different. Last weekend, I made a packing list. So I went through and thought about everything that I wanted to bring. And I made a list for it. And then looking at the list, it looks long, but I know a lot of the items on there are very small. So like I even wrote down little details like charging cord and passport and wall plug and things like that. So that makes my list quite long. So it's probably not as many things volumetrically as it looks like on my Excel list. But you know, it made me a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to fit it all in here to travel internationally? But I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to figure it out. You know, we did the John Muir Trail and we were carrying like everything we needed for 30 days or 22 days, I guess. And that was fine. And I was carrying like 7 days of food at a time. So no big gear is needed for me for this trip. I am bringing my computer. That was a choice that I had to decide on. I really love being able to like work on the travel periods in between trips, and we have some exciting things going on. Like we're getting ready to open enrollment for our Joshua Tree women's rock climbing retreat for next year. We're opening that up in mid-October. So there are just some projects I want to work on in the like dead periods between the hiking trip. So I am bringing that, and I bought this like waterproof case so that I don't have to worry about it getting wet with the rain. But I think it still will be fine. I need some change of clothes. There is some gear that I need to bring. Like I am bringing, you know, like a dromedary, like a little mini Nalgene, sunscreen, sunglasses, headlamp, and batteries, a little med kit, you know, emergency rain poncho, though I'll have proper rain gear as well. Little bathroom kit, a little water filter. Like there are some things that I'm bringing that gear wise. But you know, I'm more thinking that my extra clothes might be the thing that takes me, and the 5,000 pairs of socks that I'm bringing. Just kidding. But, also books, toiletries, though I'll probably just bring a Kindle, to be honest, to save space. Though I do have a really big book that I'm working through right now. These are the choices, y'all. This is the pre-trip anxiety that comes up for my book readers. You're like, do I bring 9 books or do I bring a Kindle? And it is a real thing, okay? The choices are hard. I do plan to pack this weekend, so hopefully it'll make more sense and I'll start plugging into place and I can like drop this off my list as soon as like I'm like, oh yay, everything fits. But there will probably be a little bit of ebbing and flowing with the items that I put in that bag. I may have to give up some things. So to be determined. The next thing I wrote on my list is, this one also might sound a little silly to some of you, but I'm being real with you and just showing you my brain today. And sharing all the things that it's been offering me. And one of the things is I'm literally missing out on peak fall colors in Colorado again. This is like the 3rd year in a row that's happened to me. In 2023, we were literally in Scotland almost the whole month of from the beginning of October to like late October. And in 2024, I happened to be in Puerto Rico visiting Michael's family. And then I went to Houston right after that to visit my family. And then in 2025 to this year, I'm in Scotland again. And I'm just a little bit bummed about it because fall is literally my favorite season. And I love it when I get the time to like go on a road trip or a long week trip up to like Crested Butte or Ouray or Steamboat or someplace like that where I can really just like immerse myself in all of the yellow. And I'm not sure why I keep planning things over this particular very short period of time, but it does make me a little bit sad. But I'm not like complaining because I'm also going to be in Scotland, so I'm not that sad. But it is something that I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be missing peak fall colors. But again, not something I'm like overly worried about, but it's just something I added to this list because it's real like things that are popping up into my brain. And then finally, like, of course, I have all the nerves that people normally have. Like, I have work that I still need to get done before I leave. That's like still looming over me. And you know, that week before a trip, you just never seem to be as productive as you need to be because you go down more rabbit holes. Like, you're like, okay, I need to get this work done. And then you're like, ooh, but my trip's coming up and I'm going to Google this random like tangent thing that I'm going to look into. Like the other day, for example, I caught a forum on Reddit that was like, you should book your dinner reservations in advance because these towns, they're little pubs, there's not very many places to eat and they'll get really busy. And I was like, well, I don't want to like be hangry because I didn't make dinner reservations. So I ended up like making dinner reservations at places one Wednesday afternoon in lieu of doing some work that I needed to get done. So now I'm going to have to do that this weekend. And it just always seems to be like that a little bit. I'm also like, you know, international travel. I always just am a little bit, I'm too type A. So I'm always like, I hope everything runs smoothly and there's no hiccups because I am a little bit on a tight timeline. Like there's not a lot of buffer in the schedule between days. I'm not overly nervous about that, but that always comes up for me. And then, of course, like missing my puppy, preparing my husband to take care of the puppy when I'm gone, that make sure he has everything he needs. Like I had to order food in advance to get him all ready, you know, just normal things. And if you have kids, it's like even tenfold because all the things you're thinking about to like get your kids ready, make sure they're taken care of and all of the things. So those were my main things, my main pre-trip resistance things. I hope that this episode just helped you normalize some of your own pre-trip resistance and fears and anxieties for any of your trips or your outdoor adventures that you're going on. And I just want you to know how common it is. Like the most important thing to do with pre-trip resistance or anxiety or that stuff that comes up, the mind chatter that is overwhelming right before a trip. I just want you to expect it. Recognize it for what it is, like recognize it as your brain just like offering you like, why don't we just stay home? It'll be so much easier. And if you're having the mind chatter, it's usually because there's an element of the thing that you're about to embark on that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone and it's requiring you to grow. So just recognize that your brain doesn't love that because it's so unknown and that it's so normal for it to freak out. And then I also like to give it equal airtime. So you will notice like almost all the things that I went through on my list, I have already thought of the upside of it as well. Like eating solo, like, yes, my brain is like, we don't like this. We don't like to eat by ourselves. Allison, that is weird. You're going to look awkward. But on the flip side, I'm actually quite excited to work on it because it's something I would love to not feel so awkward about. Also, maybe I make friends, like maybe I meet other solo hikers and travelers and have a good time. Like I'm already giving it equal airtime. So all the things that I'm nervous about, I'm like, this could be the best choice as well. This could be the most amazing thing. So give equal airtime to negative and positive in your brain. It really does help. And then finally, just make a list of what needs to get done because sometimes the pre-trip resistance is like there's too many things and I'm overwhelmed. And I just find a good old-fashioned piece of paper with a list of the shit that needs to get done, like absolutely must get done before you leave, really helps just to be like, okay, I'm working my way through this list and moving forward. And those are my top tips for the pre-trip resistance stuff. And now I'm just so excited. You know, in a few weeks, you'll get to hear the on-trail experience and recap of how this adventure goes. So this is just kind of a like little appetizer before I get started. I'm really looking forward to it and excited to share with you all the things that I learned and experienced on the West Highland Way with my friend and solo. So I'm excited to debrief it all with you all on the podcast and share more behind the scenes. So I hope you loved today's episode. Again, if you want to hear more about pre-trip resistance, go listen to episode 10. All right, that's all that I have for today, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Hey, I wanted to thank you real quick for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you love this episode and you want deeper support in becoming a safe, confident, and self-sufficient hiker and backpacker, then head over to shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist to learn more about our Backpacking Badass coaching program, where I teach you absolutely everything you need to know to be self-reliant on the trails and stop waiting around on others for the adventure invite. So I'd love to help you more in your journey of stepping into your adventurous identity, and that program is the absolute best place for us to start working together. So again, that's shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist, and you can learn all about it there. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you get to spend some time outside this week, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Bye.